shift that made such a huge difference for me that I want to offer to you too is so applicable with any moment where we're getting conflict or resistance from someone, whether you're talking to someone at work or your kids or a client or whatever. But it's especially important with our partners. There's this way of thinking about what's coming up for them, or like that bristling. In Nick's case, it usually shows up as silence. But for some people, it might be anger or yelling or something, which could be a little bit harder to like keep your sense of this, but let's try. Where you can actually imagine that your heart and like your intention is connecting directly with the resistance. So like if that is putting up this wall here of like, I'm not doing it right, I'm like upset, that you could imagine, not even with your words, although we'll get to the words in a second too, but that with your energy, that you can just bring this like, not necessarily calming, like we're gonna like bring the wall down, but just like, okay, like almost like you're putting your hand up to it with your heart and just letting it be there and not necessarily trying to make it go away or make it wrong or anything like that. And it took me a long time, it felt like, considering that I like know this tool and have used it before. But it took me a long time this morning to realize that's what was going on, that he was feeling criticized, that the thought of going to therapy together, even for something that was beyond our control, like a lost pregnancy, and the pain that that would have caused, which was no one's fault, still he felt criticized, like, oh, he's not good enough. And so for me to be able to bring my energy to that, as if I'm just putting my hand up to that wall of resistance and hurt and worry, and to think like, it's okay. Like, I'm not trying to make this go away. And just by meeting it with energy and love, typically it does tend to soften. So then I was able to share a little bit more about my vision for what this could be for us. And it turned out that he could really, really relate to and connect with. So when I shared about how I don't want all the pressure to be on him to somehow magically be able to counsel me through the experience of a miscarriage and all the pain that went with it, when he has like no skills at being able to do that, why would he? And he's also having his own experience and his own pain and process. And so it feels like, of course, we would go to someone else, or like, of course, this would be sort of beyond our pay grade in a way. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. And so even if that's not the specific situation that you're in or the specific kind of ask that you're making of your partner, I think you can helpfully take that same approach. And this is the second big mindset shift about like, there's you and me, and then there's this relationship that's between us. And it's almost its own being. It's got its own soul that needs tending to, and neither one of us are responsible fully for it. And we can look to outside people to help, just like when or if we do have a baby and hire a babysitter and need teachers and grandparents and friends and all the other people who are going to be tending to that little soul with us. It feels kind of like that to me, that this relationship exists and it needs support from all these different ways. And these two shifts are actually part of a bigger pattern that I would encourage us to think about as we continue to grow and aren't exactly sure how to share that growth with our partner. And that's really by thinking that like the main thing that we are being asked to do as we grow and awaken, and as we continue to kind of rise and rise, is not to then turn and point out where everyone else is not awakened. That is going to take forever, first of all. And it's not really the way that anyone changes, right? Like if you think about your own path, your growth probably didn't come from moments where disdain or, kind of snootiness or holier than thou attitudes were projected onto you. I've never had a moment where someone was rude, so rude that then I like had a moment of growth. Instead, it's like loving, patient, meeting me where I am, maybe like inviting me along, and then mostly showing by example, right? And so both of those shifts around the way we approach our partner, especially in moments where we're asking them to take on something emotional when they have like no training necessarily, like I was doing this morning, is really just to be centered in ourselves and so clear ourselves about what is real.